So this is the problem set 5.4 for elementary algebra, and golly, this may take a couple videos just to kind of go over the different ones we have here. So let's start out simple with 49a squared minus 25b squared. This is number 14. Can I take the square root of that? Yes. Can I take the square root of that? Yes. So I make my two parentheses, write the square root of 49a squared, write the square root of 25b squared, plus, minus, done. Alright, this is number 22. Can I take the square root of that? Nope. Square root of that? Nope. So I do what I normally do. My very first thing is I factor. Is there anything I can pull out? I can pull out a 3 and an a. And that leaves me with an a squared here, because I took out a 3 in one of my a's, which made it a 2. And a 3 into that is 16, and I pulled my a out. So I get that. Now can I take the square root of that? Yes, I can. So I make two parentheses, square root of the first term, square root of the second term, and a plus or minus. Because this is a difference of two squares, it will always do that. So that's my goal, is to get be a difference of two squares. Alright, let's jump down to 31. So again, I have a trinomial. Can I take the square root of that? Yes. Can I take the square root of that? Yes. If I take the square root of this, I get 1x. If I take the square root of that, I get 1. And if I multiply them, what do I get? And if I multiply it by 2 or double it, I get that, which is what I have here. So that means that I can very quickly and easily take the square root of both of these. And when I do that, I look at this sign, and if it's negative, these both turn into negatives. So this is not the difference of two squares, because I don't have I don't have a binomial. I have a trinomial with 3. And this sign is what determines both of those. So that's what makes it different. So this is number 48. So what I'm going to do, can I take the square root of that? Yes. Can I take the square root of that? Yes. And what happens if I multiply them? And what happens if I double that? I get that back. Okay, so that's a good thing. This is a plus sign, so I know that if I take the square root of the first one, square root of the second one, put a squared sign up there, and put a plus sign, then I'm done. Okay? Or if you don't want to put a squared sign, you can write it like this if it makes it make more sense to you. But since these are both the exact same, we could put a squared sign on one of these and it means the same thing. Okay, so that's 48. Let's jump into some weird ones that they, of course, they don't show you in the lesson, and that has to do with fractions. So if we jump to one like number 60, we have x squared minus 3/2 x plus 9/16. Okay, so it's a trinomial, and I'm going to ask myself, can I take the square root of the first one? Yes, it's x. Can I take the square root of that? Well, the square root of that is the square root of the top number over the square root of the bottom number. And I can. Now what happens if I multiply these together? I get 3/4 x. And what happens if I double that? Multiply it by 2 over 1, or 2. I get 6 over 4 x, and 6 over 4 reduces to 3/2 x, and that are the same, so I know that I can do my next step, which is square root of this first one, square root of the second one, with this sign in the middle, and I square it. So the ones with the fractions really aren't too scary. You just make sure that when you take the square root, you take the square root of the top number, square root of the bottom number, and you should be okay. Now let's see if there's anything else here. That was number 60. So let's jump down to like number 67. Okay, so this one looks kind of scary to factor, but you know, don't get too worried about it, because first of all, we're going to do our factoring first. What can we pull out of here to make it simpler? Well, I have a 5 here. I can pull a 5 out of here and a 5 out of there. So 5 out of there gives me x cubed, plus a 5 out of there gives me 6. 5 out of that gives me a 9. See what I did there? It's just dividing. 5 into this gives me 9, 5 into this gives me 6, 5 into 5 gives me a 1. Alright, now is there anything else that's like? I've got an x, and an x. So I can pull out 1, because this is the minimum number of x's here is a 1. So I can't pull out an x squared because I don't have one over here. So I can only pull out a 1, or 1x. So I'll pull that one out. That leaves me with that. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. Alright, so now what I need to do is I need to see, I've got a trinomial here. Can I take the square root of that? Square root of x squared is x. Can I take the square root of this? Yes, square root of 9 is 3. Square root of y squared is y squared. I have a plus sign right there, so I put it there. I square that, and I put my 5x there, and I am done. So I just brought that down. And remember, this sign here is going to be this sign, and it will be squared like that. Or like I say, you could write it as x plus 3y and not have the squared there if you wanted to do that. So that's number 67, and I think that's probably as hard as they're gonna get. So I think you'll be good to go. Let's do one more here. Let's do number 69. So 69 says factor by grouping the first 3 terms together. So we're going to put the first 3 terms together, and we're going to factor just that. We're going to ignore that for right now. So square root of the first term, square root of the second term, plus sign from right there, because trinomial, that, minus y squared. Okay? So it looks a lot simpler, but it's not done, because look, I have got whatever's inside here squared, and I have this squared. Can I take the square root of that? Well, because this is even, I know I can take the square root, and the square root of this, and remember, is you take this and divide it by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So x plus 3 to the first power is basically the square root of that. Okay, so I can take the square root of that, and I'm going to write it twice. And can I take the square root of that? Yes. And because there's a minus here, this is the difference of 2 squares, because see, I've got this square, and I have this square, and I have a difference. So therefore I have a plus minus. So really I'm doing 2 things here. First thing I did was grouping. Trinomial, square root of that, square root of that, and was able to get x plus 3, the quantity squared, and I tagged that onto the end. If this wasn't here, then this would be my answer for this trinomial. But they said look at the first 3 and factor to this, and then we tag that onto the end. Now when I looked at this, I saw, oh, I've got one term here that's squared and one term here that's squared. So I have the difference of 2 squares. When you have the difference of 2 squares, you take the square root of this, x plus 3, square root of that, y, and because there's a minus sign, we get a plus and a minus. So this ends up being, if we take the parentheses off, that times that. And if I were to multiply these two here, I would get this mess right here back. So that's what they want you to do for 69 through 72. I already did 69 for you, so you really only have 71 as far as that is concerned. And go ahead and skip 73 and 75. I don't remember if I assigned those, but if I did, go ahead and throw those out. And that's it for problem set 5.4.